Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, Clodagh Egan. Just as we go live, I think Tim the postman's going to arrive. Hi, Tim Reed, long COVID. Matey Flip, sending you so much love. And they've been really busy. Hope you feel better soon, mate. Good Chip Lollipop. Jenny Scam, Faith Goodman, Naomi Proverbs. Who else have got? Nikki Burton. I'm in bed too. I had a fall on Thursday, down a few stairs. Oh, you poor thing, Nikki. Oh my God, you poor thing. Sending you hugs of recovery. Juniper Grace, good morning. Sally O'Sullivan, good morning. Bernie B. How are we all? Did you enjoy the Curly Cooks? Obviously, it was a pre-record. I saw a couple of people were saying, but I thought this was live. If no one replies, it's and if you can pause. No, I think you can pause lives. If no one replies, it's not live. Though sometimes when we're live, we don't reply. This is a grape. This is a great grape. Loving the grape. Morning, Karen Martin. Nighttime there. Wow. Okay. Oh, that's a bit crunchy in the ears. I'm sorry if that's a bit crunchy for you guys. Let me just imbibe some coffee quite quickly. Hi, Sadie C. Yeah, I've got my comfort hat on. Comfort hat to sort of hug my head. It's a hug my head day. What are we going to do, guys? There's no football commentators anywhere. Where have they all gone? What's going on? Well, I mean, first there's Lineker, then there's Wrighty and Shearer, then there's Football Focus has gone, then everyone else is like, not me, mate, I'm not doing it. I never thought that the most effective governmental opposition in this country would be football pundits. The world gets ever stranger. Did anyone else see that coming? That we would turn to our football commentators and pundits for some bollocks, to grow some balls and actually say, well, or kick some balls and actually say, enough's enough. Claire Kendrick, I've gone back to bed slightly hungover. That was a good night, wasn't it? I'm sorry. What he said has been skewed towards some sort of insensitive invoking of a terrible time in history, the Nazis. He was directly comparing what the language of the government around asylum seekers to the language being used in 1930s Germany as the Nazi Party grew in power. And the fact that the BBC has essentially not fired him, but nudged him aside. And the fact that, there's a bigger debate. Perhaps if the BBC have rules, and they do have rules about social media usage with high-profile presenters, it's usually relating to journalists. I think I said this in the last Coffee Moaning. I'm encouraged that other people are coming out in his support, because they're essentially supporting the fact that someone is bold enough to call out this government's asylum policy, and the Labour Party are not. Ridiculous. Gabrielle, the BBC are scared because they are supported by Tory donors. There is this strange, shady power thing going on at the BBC, isn't it? All the right-wing press desperate to have the BBC as some kind of radical Leninist. But, oh my God, and it's amazing, isn't it? You've got all of the right-wing press, absolutely, working on the government's behalf to give him a good kicking. And I think regardless I'm personally not an enormous fan of Gary Lineker, if I'm honest. I'm not. But I think it's bloody refreshing that someone has just said, hang on a minute. And that lots of other people have also said, yeah, hang on a minute. I wonder if this could spread. I wonder if the contagion could spread. I wonder if there could be no golf coverage. What do you think? Faith Goodman, I think Gary is being used to stop people thinking about Tory party and laws of people in boats. Interesting you should say that, Faith. We were talking about this earlier in the week. Don't know what you guys think here, if you didn't see that chat. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. You're right. I think all the attention, so the right-wing press are giving attention to what he said, and that Gary Lineker moves all the attention away from asylum seeking. I think what would be good now is if everyone who was supporting him or him reiterated what it was they were originally saying, because that's what they need to kick back into play. The football analogies are great. When they throw the ball back onto the pitch and they kick it up the field, what they need to do is sort of like, double down on, have a counter-offensive and knock it into the back of the net, basically. They need to absolutely, take a corner kick from the centre spot, and they need to reiterate essentially what this was about. So it doesn't just become, you're right, Faith, it doesn't just become a Lineker thing, but it actually stays a political thing. Because I saw somewhere someone had a chart of the language used in 1930s Germany around asylum seeking and the language used and the sort of limitations being put on protests in this country. It was a stark comparison. It was a kind of chilling comparison. These things don't happen suddenly. They happen gradually. I'm not suggesting for a minute, but Oh, Laura S., I made you want to... I forgot about that. I tried to make a cucumber sandwich. That was a disaster, wasn't it? In the Curly Cooks of Croydon, if you wonder. I haven't gone completely mad and off on one. So anyway, so let's have a look at the headline. So The Guardian, Lineker suspended from BBC over social media row. So to be clear, the BBC is worried about his social media comments, and the argument is now about whether anyone who presents for a broadcaster is allowed to have an opinion outside of their professional capacity. I think the idea that they don't is bonkers. I love the fact that Emily Maitlis has come off the BBC and she does that podcast now where she's incredibly opinionated. I think the fact that he's a sports commentator means that surely there has to be more leverage around him being able to do it. Joe McKenna, I do really hope that there are more people in the UK who care for the plight of others and the Tories loses votes. Yeah, I mean, this is all just an attempt to get about, Labour. What's that whistling sound of the tumbleweed blowing by? Jesus. At the front of the Daily Star, the Beeb's gone too far. The Beeb's gone too far. Gary Lineker dropped from Match of the Day after tweet row. BBC is in crisis. I do think the BBC is trying to kind of dry itself in a running shower, isn't it? It's kind of I just have been there. They'll be running around those kind of corridors just off Regent Street, going, "Oh no, what do we do? This is a hot potato. What he says is kind of right, but he said this. He didn't actually say no." That's the other thing. At the front of the Daily Mail, obviously, going with, like I did, all of the kind of football analogies. Mutiny as BBC over Lineker. At BBC over Lineker, red card. Mutiny at BBC over Lineker, red card. Bosses confirm his small boats Nazi tweet broke guidelines. This is curious. Step back. And then he said he wasn't stepping back. There's this curious situation where you do the hokey cokey and you fall around or something like that, isn't it? He's in, he's out, he's not in, he's out. Anyway, all sorts of other football fans. He compared the language. Thank you, Michu. That's exactly it. Colin Ridgewell. Alan Sugar was very opinionated towards Jeremy Corbyn. Absolutely. Dearheart, let new presenters have a go. I mean, I'm sure there are some aspirant sports commentators and presenters at the sidelines, on the substitutes bench, pleading to be called on at half time. But I have to say, we live in curious times, don't we? It has to be said, come on, we have to accept that the strongest demonstration of some kind of apolitical but commentary on a social sort of piece of legislation by this government, or a government policy, comes from football commentators. It tells you about the state of British politics. Fucking hell. What's the world coming to? This is a really good story, or important. We'll do more for flashing victims. Obviously, we were talking in the week about Wayne Couzens, and his, obviously he was given 2 additional sentences for flashing and indecent exposure. One of them at a drive-through McDonald's. The Met chief says they're going to do more for flashing, and this is kind of looking at the idea that they need to draw a difference or define a difference between, say, streaking and flashing. What do you think? Do you remember in the 70s, 80s, streaking was a big thing, wasn't it? It was seen as a sort of light-hearted bit of fun. But anyway, at the moment, as the laws stand, both offences are treated as indecent exposure with a maximum sentence of 2 years. The Met chief says it's the same offence in law if a drunken idiot streaks across a football pitch and if somebody masturbates in a dark alley. Well, that's ludicrous. There is no comparison, is there? That's a good point, Michu. And then you have Robert Jenrick saying the licence fee funded broadcaster should reflect the views of the government and the popular will, as long as it's his popular will. I think this is good. I think what they're trying to do here is draw a distinction. But I have to say, I always found streaking. I mean, my nan and granddad would roar with laughter when someone streaked across a pitch or across. I mean, it's clearly not the same. One is sort of sexually motivated, the other isn't. So the idea here is to draw a clear distinction between innocuous streaking, though it does that happen a lot now, and flashing. And to essentially do more to help flashing victims. We've talked before about our own experience of someone who was essentially flashing and masturbating in a window, and the police said, can't do nothing. I said, but you know where he lives. Can't do nothing. What do you think of streaking, guys? I mean, you remember the images from the 1970s for younger people? You might think, what the fuck are you talking about? Well, back in the 70s and 80s, when security wasn't so good at football matches and rugby matches and cricket matches, streakers would run across the pitch. I never back then thought that there was any kind of strange sexual aspect to it, but who knows? And there's a famous photograph, if you put into Google, careful on your search terms, streaker, be very careful on your search terms with this, streaker, police helmet. Did say be careful. There you go. Faith Goodman has gone straight to streaking across pitches with policemen using helmet. I mean, I wonder if he put the helmet back on his head. I wouldn't. Would you? I wouldn't want to do that. Not if my helmet's been covering another helmet. Anyway, you get my point. I think if it's Tom Hardy, I agree with streaking. There is this strange idea that streaking was, flashing is more perverted, Janie Scam, absolutely, for sure. Maybe streaking, it's a bit tricky. Maybe streaking's just become a thing of the past. And is that any bad thing? I mean, every now and then, but it was big news, wasn't it? I remember my nan running out to the back garden when Wimbledon was on, saying, "There's a streaker." Anyway, this is interesting. Now, propaganda is these days probably is on the front line of modern day warfare, right? And morale building in countries. So propaganda, the Nazis used propaganda. What was that? Leni Riefenstahl. Triumph of the Will film, all about kind of Aryan brotherhood. The British made propaganda films, what have you. Oh, well, of course. So the Russians are creating propaganda for their population. And I thought this was kind of hysterical. So do you want to know what the Russians are telling, Russian TV are telling Russians that's happening in Britain? Do you want to know? Whilst I eat a grape. This made me chuckle. And then I looked up and there was a fox at the back door. Britain's forced to eat squirrels, says Russian TV. Yeah. The British are being forced to eat squirrels because of all the money we've spent arming Ukraine. The host of the talk show 60 Minutes. Don't you love these shows that are so simply descriptive? 60 Minutes. Said, in the once great Britain, I don't think they ever thought we were great, it was revealed today that some restaurants will be serving squirrels in view of the fact that there are plenty of them in parks, so why not eat them? Bear in mind there is a food shortage, so they're laughing at our bare shelves, but they're not stepping back from the decision to help Zelensky. They will eat squirrels, but supply howitzers, which is kind of artillery gun fare. Have you had a squirrel? So I hear they taste of chicken. Like so many things. Have you noticed that? I once had, and this was way, way back when, somewhere abroad, I'm not proud of it, before we all became rehabilitated, vegan was not even a word. It was vegan was a strange race on Star Trek when I did this. But we had, what's it called when you have something that's really thin? Not sashimi. What's it called when you have, they put it on sort of posh menus, and it's like such thin sort of meat that it's not even there, and they charge some stupid amount of money. What's it called? Not escallop. Yeah, no, nearly Sadie, something like that. What's it called? Really, really thin. And it's really, I mean, I don't know what else to say other than it's really, really thin. I can't think what the hell it was. Anyway, I had whatever that was. It was Carpaccio, Carol Naismith. Thank you. Wafer thin, Julie Everts. Yeah, a Carpaccio of alligator and Carpaccio of ostrich. Weird. Anyway, so the Russians believe we're eating squirrels. I don't mind them believing that, actually. It makes us sound batshit crazy. I wouldn't want to come face to face with someone who eats squirrels. Oh, I really wouldn't. This is a sad bit of news. ITV are closing CITV. Oh, never used to watch it, really. CITV, the free-to-air channel that launched in 2006, had shows such as Art Attack, The Worst Witch, and Sooty, is going off air. And you know why? Because everyone's watching YouTube. Yep. Unless those people in those strange suits at these strange channels like ITV and BBC recognise that, no amount of ITVX is going to change it. Yeah, so CITV is going. The reason I pulled that is it's just yet another kind of marker. Oh, Mandy Lou, I'm sorry. Oh, it could be because I'm on StreamYard. That could be why it's not letting you post your 26-month milestone. But, at the end of this, it's like when CBBC went. Sad, isn't it? We loved Art Attack. Nowhere near as good as, what was the BBC one? Heart? Take Heart. Was it Take Heart? The one on the BBC. Changing Times. Steph Schultz. You summed it up. You summed up the mood of the nation there, Steph. Changing Times. Take Heart. Take Heart. Back in the innocent days where a man presented a TV show with a cravat. Sometimes I wish for those days. Zebedee, Zippy, Bungle. Innocent days where grown men would wear dungarees, rainbow dungarees. What have we become? Yeah, sorry. Anyway. Duke of Edinburgh's in the news. He's been given Prince Edward's in the news. He's been given a nice birthday present. He's been given a dukedom. Oh, I have to say, I've got a bit of time for what's his name? Eddie. I've got a bit of time for Eddie, Prince Edward. He's been, he's been a spare, but he's just got on with it. He's not minded. There he is, very dapper. Dukedom of Edinburgh. Obviously, this was Prince Charles's father. This was Prince Philip's title. But now it's been handed as a birthday gift to Prince Edward. Lovely. I guess around the kitchen table in the morning. What would you like, Prince Edward? Edward, would you like the Dukedom of Edinburgh, Daddy's? Would you like Daddy's title? Oh yes, please. That sounds really nice. That'd be lovely with some croissant and jam. Where's Andrew? Oh, don't mention Andrew. We've booted him out, and guess what Andrew's going to do? King Charles said, well, I don't know. Well, Andrew's thinking of doing another interview. Is Andrew? He's not the full shilling, is he? Andrew eyes a tell-all chat with a US star, as the Mirror says, because the last one went so well. Good ship lollipop. Edward looks like Philip, but a foot shorter. Yeah, Philip was like a Titan, wasn't he? Attack on Titan he was. Yeah, so as if it wasn't bad enough, Emily Maitlis making absolute mincemeat of him, he's a sucker for punishment. So he wants to do another interview. He's considering taking part in a new tell-all interview as he seeks to find a way back into the royal fold. I don't think so. I think they are. Yeah, there's a drama about the Maitlis-Andrew interview, me too. I think I mentioned it on Weekly Rushes. Weekly Rushes will be landing later today, by the way. Oscars this weekend, isn't it? I think this is about him taking a leaf out of Harry's book, and he's thinking, hey, if I'm going to be cut adrift, I'm going to sort of, cut my own path through celebrity. So, excuse me. So I think this is him kind of being mindful that he needs to kind of, monetize his notoriety. That's what I think it is, Stu. Oh, guys, I've got to start my second coffee. Anyway, moving on. I'm not going to do this story. It's boring. Sometimes you pull things, you go, yeah, that'd be fun. And then you look at it and you go, nah, that's not fun. What's this? Oh, look at this. Don't say pig out or wolf it down. It makes obese people feel like animals. Do you agree? Bring back Cracker Jack, says Ali P. Absolutely agree. The phrase pig out is no longer acceptable because it makes obese people feel like animals, dietitians say. Talking of a war on obesity should be avoided as it makes overweight people feel like the enemy. They caution against the use of other phrases such as these, okay? Pig out, eating like a horse. Yeah, I don't drink anywhere near as much as Pedro Pascal, and he looks fresh-faced. Eating like a horse. Do horses eat? I don't know if I've ever seen that. Is there truth to that saying? Eating like a horse. Gannet. I always remember my uncle when I was younger say, you're eating like a gannet. I never knew what a gannet was. I was like, bloody hell. And then he told me it was a bird, and I thought, well, they can't eat much. Pig out, eating like a horse, wolfing down your dinner. I don't mind being compared to a wolf. They're quite sleek, silvery. See you, Faith. Lots of love, darling. Stuff your face, Elizabeth Gordon. Maybe that's all right because you're not choosing to talk about an animal. What do you think, guys? Has it gone too far? Or is that right? Or is that right? Maybe it is right. I don't know. I mean, I'm asking. I don't know. Maybe it is important that these words are... These are all phrases and sayings, aren't they? Stuff your face is brilliant. Shove it in your cake hole. I like that one. Is that insulting to cakes? I don't know. Does that make people feel like a cake? Cake hole. Cake does it make you feel like a cake machine? Oh, you're all saying too far. Never touch the side, Salier. Yeah, the idea that you're such a large tube that it never touches the sides. I suppose that would. I like this story. Well, it's not really a story, just a fact. Slump swerved. Obviously, the economy grew. This is just what with all the chat of football and everyone's going, oh, fucking hell, football, boring. You've got to understand it's a huge part of the British economy. And apparently they reckon that Premier football matches help the economy grow by 0.3%, which is quite something when I think the economy grew by 0.3%. So in a sense, you could say that the footballers have scored a hat-trick. So basically, let's get this straight. Football commentators are the only effective opposition to the Conservative Party, and football matches are the only effective antidote to recession. What the fuck is going on, guys? I never knew football was so important. I'm going to have to get FIFA 23 and play. Bloody hell. And as if the BBC hasn't been spineless enough with Gary. I feel so strongly about the Gary Lineker thing. It's weird. Every time I say it to Nadia, she sort of goes, a poker face comes on. I go, which way are you going? Look at this. BBC will not broadcast the final David Attenborough episode over a fear of a right-wing backlash. What? Let me just move over to this. This is a sort of slightly more user-friendly version of the headline rather than the Guardian's. I mean, sometimes the Guardian can be a little bit sort of po-faced. There you go, in the Sun. Attenborough show dropped. The BBC is, get this, the BBC is not showing an episode of a new David Attenborough series because they're worried it's going to spark a right-wing backlash. Who's running this shit show? B bosses reckon themes reflecting a destruction of nature could provoke furious responses. What? But get this. This is the weirdest part of, right? This is the weirdest part of it all, right? So they've made these episodes, 6 episodes for prime time. 5 of them are going to go out, looking at the wild isles of the UK and everything, probably touching on the fact that we're all sliding down a slope into fucking Armageddon. But the 6th documentary, which perhaps takes this argument a little bit further and therefore a little bit more honest and kind of informative, this is the bit I don't understand. The BBC said we never planned on airing it. I couldn't quite believe it. We were never considering airing this episode. I think they said something like that. Was it? Yeah, look, the BBC have been strongly denied that this is the case, and they've insisted that the 6th episode in question was never intended to be broadcast. Well, why the fuck did you make it? I mean, call me old-fashioned, but you don't make programmes not to bloody air them. Ugh. Guys, you got to throw your caps in the ring and just say, for fuck's sake. I've always been supportive. Colin Ridgewell, you know what I think this is? I've always been supportive of the BBC. Look, we're a BBC family. Me and Nadia met through the BBC. Maddie is what we call a BBC baby. But, you know, I've sort of ignored all these stories about, Tories in the higher echelons of the BBC. And I'm beginning to think that the change has happened. So let's move over to that other sort of bastion of entertainment. No, not the BBC. Hollywood. Hooray for Hollywood. Hollywood. It's the Oscars this weekend, in case you didn't know. Right. Why would they be being called the Oscars? Good puntastic headline here from The Sun. Can anyone guess why they're calling the Oscars the Oscars? Hi, Nanny Di. I'll bring up a cup of tea in a minute. We've locked her in her room because she's just irresponsible. She can't be trusted. Keeps nicking all my grapes. Cancel the TV licence, says Dearheart. Well, they're not doing themselves any favours, are they? Someone here said they think Gary Lineker's going over to Talk TV or GMBDV or BPTV or something or other. Whichever one has what's his face on it. What's his name? Dan Wootton, that guy. Nanny Di, I've decided. Yeah, I wasn't a particularly big fan of Gary Lineker. Now I am. Funny that, isn't it? Okay, why are they calling it the Oscars? Dear heart, Australian influence. This is because, and we all like this kind of story. Everyone, there's the Oscars. Who's going to win? Who's not going to win? Me and Nanny Di did a who will win, who should win. That's going up later today. There's a little bit of kind of contentious kind of controversy, which will go in the weekly rushes later today too. But the Oscars, what's in the goodie bag? So do you want some facts and figures first? The cost of the 95th Academy Awards. Of course, we could have, maybe should have been there this year. We got to the long list on the best live action short film. Shame though, didn't make it. But we got that far. £47 million is the cost of the Academy Awards ceremony. £20,000 spent simply on the red carpet. The cost of a 30-second ad is £1.3 million. So when you see those adverts come up, mainly if you're in America, that's how much the companies have paid for them. £333, this is a bit surprising, is the cost of a coveted gold plate statuette. Now I'm thinking, did I really want to go? £66,000 is the cost of 2 tickets to the Vanity Fair after party. £66,000. But why are they called the Oscars? I still haven't answered, have I? They're called the Oscars because in the goodie bag, they're being offered 1 square metre of Australian land. Yeah, you've heard me right. 1 square metre of Australian outback land. And I'll tell you what else they've got in there. A 3-night stay for 8 in an Italian lighthouse costing £7,000. Stay at the Canadian estate, the lifestyle worth grapes coming back, £33,000. Edible massage oils, coconut water, and a 100-calorie snack bar. £34,000 worth of cosmetic treatments, liposuction, hair restoration treatment, and a facelift. This is all in your bag. Imagine if we'd managed to go, and there was 4 of us, we could have brought them all back and shared them all out. But 1 square metre of land in Australia. Of course, this has gone down like a bucket of shit with the indigenous people of Australia, who all of the leading charities and organisations have said we were not consulted about this whatsoever. You know, carving up our land and selling it and giving it to rich people. slightly unpalatable, isn't it? So that's when they get given their Oscar bags. It's like we were at a preview screening the other night, and we got a fantastic bag of sweet and salty popcorn. I mean, it was fucking brilliant. I didn't have it because I had a bit of a cough, and you know when you get those little bits of a popcorn kernel, and it sticks just there, and however much you roll your tongue back to get it off, and then use your back teeth to try and pull your tongue, you can't get rid of it. So I tried not to. Maddie had them, and we had them at the Ant-Man premiere. My God, that popcorn's great. Well, where they put the popcorn in those screenings is where you get your I mean, imagine, I bet, if just a couple of those Oscar bags fall down the back of a chair, someone's like, hey, winning. Yeah, someone just said, mind you, I wouldn't mind one, Jackie Bellino. It's sickening, isn't it? Sickening. We talked about Charles Bronson earlier in the week. Not the guy from Death Wish, but the guy who's, sort of like, he's like the Craze, isn't he? Sort of the most notorious prisoner. Anyway, he's been sharing some of his bucket list. Bronson, I'll run London Marathon dressed as a lag and cuffed to a warder. He tells ex-wife of bucket list. He told his ex-wife, he's very, very positive. I'm desperate to get out and I want to run a marathon. Fair dues. Fair dues. It's a curious thing to want to do, isn't it? Oh, mind you, I suppose when you've been locked up, the one thing you want to do is just keep moving. I'd want to keep moving. And this is curious. Careful what you wish for, because of course, WhatsApp, messaging service WhatsApp, could be turning its back on Britain. Get this. Threat because of the bill going through Parliament regarding content, online content, regarding child sexual abuse, etc. The new safety law. The Meta-owned firm could refuse to follow the bill's attempt to outlaw end-to-end security encryption. Basically, it looks like if there are the finer details of this law that is actually there to protect kids and youngsters and prevent abuse and what have you. Could end up in Meta, who own WhatsApp, Facebook, that own WhatsApp, ceasing to use have their service available here. So you won't be able to send, or if they do, you won't be able to send photographs, videos, voice messages, or anything like that. So if you're a WhatsApp fan, it could be gone. You never know. Stakes high in top pie contest. Oh, look, it's on the same page. A steak, ale, and Stilton cheese creation has been named supreme champion at the British Pie Awards. The crusty concoction called Moo and Blue rose up to beat a record 907 rivals. Steak, ale, and Stilton. What's your favourite pie? That's what I wanted to ask you. Couldn't give a fuck about this story, but what's your favourite pie? Yeah. What's your favourite pie? The meat treat. Brockleby's has overcome exceptionally stiff competition. The meat treat contrasts with last year's supreme champion, which was the Pie Minster's gluten-free mooless pie. Oh, mooless as in no cow. Nicole, don't get hungry. Nicole Marcella, what was that? Where have you gone? Chicken leek and ham. BK, chicken and leek. Lauren Nichols, chicken and gravy. Gribbleton, steak and kidney. I always like the sound of a steak and kidney, but I don't fancy eating kidneys, especially when you think that wheeze pass through them. It's always a bit, chicken and leek, Daniel Blake Smith. Jan J X, minced beef or chicken and mushroom. Oh, I like that. Oh, look at you. Look, everyone coming in now. I survive on WhatsApp, Tim Reid. I know. I mean, it's WhatsApp groups. What the hell would happen there without them? Cornish pasty, chicken and mushroom, turkey and leek. Ellery Jones. Good Ship Lollipop. Any a good homemade pie works for me. Yeah. Do I like pies? I don't know if I really do. I like a chicken pie. Lee Peart wants a pie now. Oh, Lee Pyatt. I think that's what we should call you. Lee Pyatt. Oh, pecan pie. Oh, don't start getting it. Oh, pie now. Sweet pie. Squirrel pie, Mum. That's funny. We like squirrels, don't we? That is funny. Squirrel pie. Egg and bacon pie. Who said that? Deer heart. Wow. Okay. Porsche. Who says Porsche? I always thought, what wanker if you say Porsche, but maybe it is Porsche. A car's called Porsche. Does anyone know when we say Porsche? Should we say Porsche? Anyway, Porsche have launched their own caravan. Look at this. It's flashing it. Porsche have released a luxury caravan. And I want one. Plain and simple. It looks like something out of a sci-fi movie. It looks like you can't really see there, but go online and look at Porsche Caravan. It's bloody flash. Right, we've talked about this before, and we're going to talk about it again because it's a topic that needs to be talked about between me and Nads. The Daily Star, in inimitable fashion, says separate beds boost sex life. The expert, they don't say who the expert is, but a sex expert. I mean, I wonder if a sex expert is self sort of defined. I'm a sex expert. Porsche. It is Porsche Keely Windle. Sex expert, which could be anyone probably at the Daily Star offices, says sleep divorce to help stop a real divorce. The secret to improving your sex life is sleeping apart. Separate to stay together. Simple policy, really. And I think what the idea about this is that, just having a corridor between you. I love the way they've got those people. Can you see the people with their hands held across a bed? It's the idea of just walking down a corridor is quite sort of, I don't know, it's quite sort of romantic perhaps, or adds a certain frisson. Right? You could be walking from one bedroom to the other with an apple pie or a chicken and mushroom pie. I don't think you'd want a steak and kidney pie. I'm going to make a pie later, says Laura S. You're going to sleep in separate bedrooms too, Laura S. I'm single. I sleep on my own. Thank God, says Ellery. I think you're right. I'd quite like to sleep with that dog. Not in that sense, but to cuddle it. Do you know what I mean? I see the sense in that, says Sadie C. I'm fed up with the snoring. Bit of a passion killer. It is old, isn't it? You roll over, you go for a kiss. And in my case, she's not only snoring, but she's got these strange things in her mouth that stop her from going... It's really weird. It's not what you expect, is it? Face fillers. Face fillers, or what I call them, the things you put in your face to make you look like a kidney bean. Maybe they're kidney beans that they put into people's faces. Well, Courtney Cox, who obviously is now in Scream 6, a review will be coming your way. We just caught that film. She's obviously the star. She's been in many of them. She features quite heavily in the latest one. And she sort of, how would you put it without being a spoiler? She encounters her own form of cosmetic surgery. But she talks about the fact that anti-age jabs messed up my look. She's admitted that having too many fillers when she was younger has destroyed the natural contours of her face. She does look, I'm not, again, this is, when her mouth seems big. I don't know, is there a sort of cosmetic procedure that makes your mouth bigger? The hole. Like they split, it just becomes bigger. Or maybe it's just the head gets smaller. I don't know. Wonder Woman, she's trying to emulate the Scream mask ahead of the new film. It's funny you should say that. I sort of leant over and said to someone in the cinema yesterday, I said, does that not look a bit... So Courtney Cox has admitted she messed up by having too many fillers. The problem I have with fillers is people have them to begin with. They go, I'll just have one. And then they don't see it. And then they go, I'll just have another one. And then they don't see it. And before you know it, you're sat next to a kidney bean. It's plain and simple. So she admits that fillers, and apparently, fillers, the net sort of end result of fillers is that you end up needing a facelift anyway, because once you've exhausted putting fillers in, your face sags. The world's gone mad. Lanzarote thinks we're too common. Basically, holiday Brits have been told to stay away from Lanzarote. Don't come here. We want higher quality tourists. We want German tourists. Leaders hope to limit the number of UK visitors to the Spanish island over fears it's becoming a tourist-saturated area. And the tourists they don't want are Brits. Which I suppose when you see Brits abroad, you think, kind of understand. Follows complaints of rowdy Brits hogging sun loungers, getting hammered, and refusing to speak Spanish. When you start to characterize us as a nation abroad, this doesn't look great on paper, does it? You can kind of understand why people can't fucking stand us and laugh at us sometimes. I don't know. Yeah, go abroad, smash things up, eat. Why do we go abroad and want to experience everything we have here when we get there? Do you know what I mean? It's that sort of thing of, I want to go abroad, but I actually want it to be just like Southampton. It's near to where my nan lived. Final three things. Picture photos. I thought you'd all love this just because it's him. James Norton, starring as Jude. He said the nudity in his play is justified. Okay, so I've just said the sentence, James Norton and nudity. You're all going to book tickets. Suddenly the ticket office has gone ballistic. I'm hoping to have some very exciting news about Mr. James Norton. Something that we're working on. But yeah, James Norton and nudity. What not to like, guys? Even I'm going to head down there. I think that's his hand that he's holding there. But anyway, on a serious note, it's a play based upon a book that's incredibly traumatic. So let's leave it at that. This photograph here, taken on the Isle of Skye, is it of the Quillen Mountains? Look at this. Look at this image, guys. Look at that. And we're destroying that world, guys. I'm just going to stop. I want to end. I want to reflect. I want to reflect on things. It's been I just want to say to you guys, thanks, guys. It's been good. I've really enjoyed this. Got a little bit cross at times, a little bit aggravated. It's been a weird time. You should see things under my hat. It's a fucking nightmare. But anyway, I just want to share with you this final image because for me, it just kind of sums up where my head's at the moment. So let's have a look at this. That someone was eating their muffin and they looked at their muffin and they realized it looked like someone. Muffin to see here. A surprised dog owner didn't do a double take, they did a double cake. And yeah, there you go. It does look like him, doesn't it? I mean, that's a funny moment. I love that. Beautiful. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. It's beautiful. Got a bit of wall. The only reason I'm kind of slightly hoping Trump doesn't win, but does go slightly further is that we can just do more Trump impressions. Anyway, guys, Dawn Decker sees Jesus. I hope you have a lovely day. I think a vlog is landing tonight. An Oscar, who's going to win, who should win, who will win, who do we want to win, is going to land. And Weekly Rushes at some point. So there's all sorts of content. And if you haven't seen it, please go back and watch the Curly Cooks this morning. Some fabulous dishes. I'm trying to remember what the hell. There were scones. Nadia made scones. Dina made a fabulous was it a sort of vegan-y risotto-y thing? And I had a go at making something very simple. Cucumber sandwiches, which proved far